this will be the case, and we just have to wait and be prepared. Does that clarify all the issues? Okay. So what I'm going to look at now is so looking at fasting. The Prophet ﷺ, he said fasting is a protection, an impregnable fortress from the fire. So fasting, what's the word for fasting in Arabic? Sawm. Or there's another one, siyam. Have you heard that one as well? Yeah, it's got sawm and siyam. It comes from a verb sama yasumu, which means to abstain. That's the meaning of fasting. And so the whole concept behind fasting is that you're abstaining from something. So even the Christians who do Lent, they are fasting. We criticise them, say that's not fasting. It is, because what are they doing? Abstaining. But that's a linguistical understanding of abstaining. In the Quran, Maryam alayhi salam says, "I've made an oath to Allah to fast." She says, but she wasn't fasting. What was she doing? Abstaining from what? Speech. Says, but she uses the word sawm, and so the word means to abstain. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you believe, kutiba alaykumus siyamu, that fasting is being prescribed for you, fasting is being prescribed for you, just as it was for the people before you, la'allakum, that perhaps you may be imbued with God, a reverence for God. Okay, so there's two issues we've got to look at this verse. The first thing is that it was written on the people before us. So we find basically in any religious tradition that you find they employ fasting. That's the first thing. From an Islamic understanding, we definitely have some hadith that substantiate that Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, he fasted. When did he fast? Do you know? No, it says he fasted when he found land. So they say that's one of the reasons we fast Muharram. It wasn't just because Prophet Musa was delivered from Pharaoh. It's that there's another hadith that expresses that Noah found land on this day as well. Now, so we've got people fast. Why? What's their reasons? For thanks, out of gratitude, and also for forgiveness. These are generally the two reasons that fasting's been employed: for fasting, for forgiveness, and for an element of mindfulness, of being conscious. Because when you're fasting, you're more present in the moment generally, which is I'm going to touch on this in a little bit later. So, what's the purpose of fasting? Allah says that you may find taqwa. What's taqwa mean?
God consciousness.
But what does it mean literally? Because we translate it like that. It's got nothing to do with awareness. Well, we translate these like that, and I'm not dismissing what you're saying, but the inherent meaning of taqwa is wiqaya, which means a protection. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ described fasting as a shield, a junnah, he said. It's a guard. So what's it mean, taqwa? It means you put a guard, literally means you put a guard between yourself and the haram. Okay? And so what's fasting doing? It's a practical act that you do to imbue in yourself a sense of caution. Because there you are, you've decided to avoid eating, and you're going to be tested. You're going to be sitting there and you could be thinking, I really want to eat. But you decide not to act upon what you want to do. And this is a huge lesson. Bismillah, come sit yourselves down, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, what's he got? Your name is? Mohammed Fayaz. Where have you come from, Mohammed Fayaz? From Birkenhead. Oh, mashallah. Your name is? We know one another. Yes. How are you doing? Mashallah. And? I knew you when you were very young. So we were looking at the verse in the Quran where Allah says fasting is being prescribed and it was for the people before you. that you may find, God consciousness, or this the word taqwa. So taqwa literally means you prevent something between yourself and something else. And so there you are sitting, and you think, I want to eat that, but you're fasting, and you say, no, I'm not going to eat that. Despite I have the thought, I'm not going to do that thing. And that's a huge thing, because in society today, we're taught your feelings define you. They say, well, I feel these feelings, I should act upon them. Whilst our tradition teaches us, no, you can have a feeling, you don't have to act upon it. And so fasting is a very practical tool to understand that. I have a thought come into my mind, there's a cream bun, it's the middle of the day of Ramadan, I want to eat that. Well, because I want to eat it, I suppose I should eat it. That's what society teaches us today. But the reality is that, no, our thoughts don't define us. Another thing they've discovered, I don't know if you heard of the marshmallow test. Have you heard of the marshmallow test? Huh?
With children,
Yeah.
wait 5 minutes.
So what did they do?
They put a marshmallow in front of a child and they say, if you wait 5 minutes, you can have 2 marshmallows.
Yeah.
And the children who wait most become more successful.
Yeah, so excellent. So they basically said you can have 1 marshmallow now, or you have 2. Some went straight for the first marshmallow, they couldn't control themselves. Others, they decided, no, I will wait. And they employed all sorts of tactics to avoid it. Some picked their nose and ate it. Okay. Other people turned their back on it. Others tried to pretend to fall asleep to try to bide that time where they're sitting in front of that marshmallow and they're not actually, they decide not to eat it. What they found was those children, they basically didn't they followed them throughout their life, and they found that these people were far more, the people that could exercise self-control were far more successful in their education, far more successful in their relationships, and far more successful in their careers. Because life's all about relationships, if you think about it, and emotional intelligence and all these things. It's all about, I want to say you're an idiot, but I choose not to. Okay? So this thought's coming into my mind, oh, I can't believe I said that. And fasting is a very practical tool to make you realise that you can control yourself. You don't have to act upon every impulse that's coming to you. And so I think it's one of the greatest gifts we can teach our children, fasting, because you're teaching them at a very early age to have that self-control. And you'll be surprised. One of my friends, a dear friend of mine, Sidi Arif, Asif knows him, he's got young kids. Last year, when his youngest, I think was about 5 or 6, some people would see this as child abuse. But they wanted to, he didn't force them. They were literally fasting the full days. And so but then when I used to work in the madrasa, I'd encourage the kids to fast. But guess what? When they went home, what did mum say? You're not fasting. My little buddha, you're going to hurt yourself, and you might do yourself some damage. I think we set our kids short then, because when they're motivated to do something, obviously I'm not saying you force them, but if they're motivated and they want to, and they will be generally motivated, why? Because like I was talking about community, when everyone else is doing something, they want to be part of it. And these legal issues will come up we'll speak about them, about children at school and so forth. But I think you should encourage them. And then when they feel like, I can't do it, mummy, I'm really hungry, let them break it. It's not a problem. We think like it's all or nothing. The problem in our community, it's either, you either do 100% or you might as well give up. And so that's not. People try, put the effort in it, and then they maybe do an hour, do 2 hours, and then you log their progression as well. You say, oh, last year you did. That's what I used to do with the kids in the madrasa. Say, how many did you do last year? Well, I did 3 days fast. Well, let's see how many you can do this time. 4, 5, alhamdulillah, you've done something. And you encourage them to get into this habit, because the greatest gift we can give our children are the skills in order to do life correctly, not give them material things. The greatest thing is to imbue them with qualities whereby they can assert, and self-control is one of the greatest gifts.
Just a suggestion going on from that. What we did with Fatima last year was we did a personal best, so she would do a couple of days, and she would write down when she had to break it during the day, and she would see whether she could go longer the next time she fasted in that day. So she'd have a record of her personal best during one.
Yeah, exactly. And personal and progression's brilliant psychologically.
So well for it. I'm just thinking that might be something that people should use.
No, definitely. And I think we've got to engage our children more in Ramadan. I think we sell them short. You've got to understand we're actually selling them short when we say no, you can't fast, because you're teaching them basically you can't do anything. And that's a huge problem in our community, is we disempower the youth. We say basically, you know, I'll step in, your elder brother, he'll do it, not you, or so forth and so forth. And then when they actually come into roles where they've got to assert themselves, they literally can't do it. And this is a big problem in our I've seen in the community of relationships. It's like the men, you know, especially, not to bash the men, I do apologise, but you know, they're in roles of leadership now, being a husband, and then they can't do it. And I feel sorry for them, I don't blame them. It's because they've never been empowered growing up. And so fasting is a very practical tool in self-empowerment, I think, into realising what you can achieve and so forth. And so that's one way we can look at fasting. So it literally means to abstain, the fasting. And so the Prophet ﷺ clarifies it. Fasting is a protection, and impregnable. So it's going to protect you from the fire. Why? Because the fire is all about avoiding things that initially seem, you know, in the short term seem profitable, while in the long term they're not profitable. And that's fasting. So I can eat it now, or I can delay it and have it later in another time. So you're psychologically entraining your brain to be prepared for life. And so that's the beauty of fasting.